So in order to truly understand the list, we need to take a trip back in time to a more simpler era of data structures. I refer to this time as the Pablo Escobar days. Back in the 1980s and the 1990s, data structures were at their simplest. We pretty much had the array, but as we've learned, the array has many limitations, and that is, the array is like concrete. Once you initialize an array, that's pretty much it. It can no longer shrink, it can no longer expand to fit your needs as a software developer, and people quickly picked up on this. And what did software developers do to combat this? Well, they did what any software developer would do. They took an array that was already functional, a perfect array, and they threw a bunch of code on top of it. They basically injected the array with steroids. And this brings me to my next important point. A list is actually just an array underneath the hood. And the array list is still a data structure that you might see on a day-to-day basis. They are still around, and they did provide us with a major breakthrough, and that is you can put anything that you want to into the array list. But it also came with two huge drawbacks. Number one, there's no type checking. And number two, it also came with a huge performance hit, because if you put anything into an array list, it oftentimes comes with a performance hit because of boxing and unboxing. And what quickly happened is that people just started treating them like garbage cans, just literally throwing anything that they wanted to in them, and this caused major problems. And what software developers finally settled upon is the traditional list that we have today, and this cured two problems. Number one, we get type checking. Within these brackets, you have to be specific about the type of data that you plan on putting into your actual list. Very similar to the way our garbage works. We can't just throw whatever type of garbage that we want to into our garbage bins today. We have to be very specific. This also solved the performance hit. Because we have to be specific about the type that we pass into our list, there's no longer unboxing and boxing performance hits. So let's go ahead, let's hop inside VS Code, where I'm going to teach you how to work with a list on a day-to-day basis, and also how to create very performant lists. So currently I'm inside of Visual Studio Code, and my program.cs is completely empty, and I've also deleted the other files that I used before in the previous video. So we're working with a brand new clean slate. And first thing I'm gonna do is just leave a little comment up here that denotes that we're about to do CRUD, because we're gonna be crudding it up. And the first thing that we need to do in order to actually work with the list is we actually have to create it, place it in memory. But how exactly do we do that? Well, unlike other data structures that we've had before, we have to type check a list. And it doesn't really matter what you plan on putting in the exact list. You could put strings, you could put objects, but I'm going to be putting numbers, so we have to put int within our alligator brackets. And I'm going to give it a name that denotes what we're going to be working with. I'm going to call this num-nums because we're working with numbers. And remember, there's all different types of ways that you could create a list. You could do something that like this, and you could fill it with numbers just like this. But nowadays, our syntax is looking really clean, looking really good. So what I'm going to do is just use the newer brackets, and I'm going to populate it with a string of numbers 1 through 5, a sequential string of numbers. Now, you could place strings in here if you want to, but I'm just going to be working with numbers. But if you wanted to place strings in here, remember, all you have to do is change out the type within the alligator brackets. So next on our list is going to be the read. Now remember that if you are going to read the contents of a collection, this does not count for individual strings. This does not count for individual integers. But if you're going to read a collection, you're going to have to iterate. And in our case, the best option is just going to be using the good old-fashioned for each. So I'm going to say var num in num-nums, and what's going to happen is that we are going to place our contents. We're going to place our collection right here, and through each iteration, this represents the individual part that we are trying to iterate through. And if you don't know what that means, just kind of hang on for a second. And what we're going to do is we're going to place that num within the console.writeLine. And through each iteration, this part right here is going to come down, and it's going to read each individual number as it passes. So let's go down here. I'm going to say .NET watch run, and this is going to run the program. And what you'll see is it's just going to iterate through them. And remember, we have to iterate through collections. You cannot just console log the individual collection because you're just going to get the type to read out. We are making tremendous progress, and we are already on the update part of CRUD. And the easiest way to actually update a list, and by far the most common, is going to be just take your collection, and what's going to pop up first is going to be add, and watch what happens. What I'm going to do, actually, I need to bring this down because we actually need to read it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here. I'm going to copy and paste this just so that we can actually read the comments of it. I'm going to comment that out just to make it more legibly. And what you will notice, and this is very important, it adds a 0 to the back of the list. And this is a very important concept to understand because this is the fastest. If you want to add something to a list and you don't care where you actually add it, you just want to add it to the back of it, adding a integer or adding whatever type of data type that you want to the back of the list is going to be the fastest because there's no searching involved. It's just going to smack it on the back of it, and it is by far the fastest way. But it does come with one drawback, and that is you can't really control where you're going to add it because it's always going to add it to the back of the list. So what do we do to combat this? What we use is what's called an insert. An insert is going to allow you to control where you can actually insert into the list. And all I'm going to do is type out my collection again. Going to go ahead, type out an I've got insert right here. And what you can do is you can control it based on these parameters. And the first parameter is the actual index that you want to place it into based on 0. And the second is going to be the actual value that you want to place. And let's just say I want to insert a 0 into the front. What I'm going to do is use the 0 because that's the very first place, and I'm going to place the second actual parameter, which is the actual value, and watch what happens. What's going to happen is it's going to insert it into the front. And even though this is not technically the fastest way, it's probably the only way if you really want to be able to control where the insertion is going to happen, as opposed to the add where it's just going to place it on the back. Wow, we are making tremendous progress. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, bring down this for each. I'm going to comment out our previous insertion and add so that we don't mess up the sequence of our numbers that we created. And I'm just going to add another comment up here called delete. So there are all different types of ways to handle a delete for a list. But truthfully, in a real world scenario, you're not going to actually be deleting that much. What you're really going to be reaching for is what's called a filter. And a filter is something that you can do in all different programming languages. But in C#, we have a very handy tool called LINQ. And what we want to do is we actually want to create a brand new variable because we have to abide by the rules of immutability. If you don't know what that means, just hang on. So first things first, we are going to create a new variable. We're going to call it new num, and what we're going to do is we're going to place our old collection in here, and we are going to filter it by using the where. And if this syntax looks a little crazy, just kind of hang on for a second. What we're going to do is we're going to provide logic that is going to remove everything except for the 2. And the way that we do that is we put logic in here that's going to check each individual iteration if something is a 2. And what we're going to do is we're also going to take this because it's a brand new variable, and we're going to place it within our for each here at the bottom. So when we run this, watch what happens. It is going to filter out everything except for the 2, but let's just say there's another scenario where we want to filter out everything except the 2. And what we're going to do is we're going to put a bang operator in here, and it's going to check every single element within our actual collection and check if it is not a 2. And if it does meet that criteria, it is going to place it within our brand new variable. And watch what happens. What's going to happen is we're just going to get everything back except the 2. Also, take your cursor and hover over the brand new variable that we just created. What you're going to see is this funny word called an IEnumerable, and this is very important. Whenever you are working on a LINQ statement, it is absolutely crucial to understand that LINQ statements return a brand new collection. And if you try to place the old collection in here, if you try to do this and not assign it the actual new variable that we created to the for loop, you're going to get the old collection, and it's going to look as if nothing actually happened at all. So if you're working on LINQ, make sure that you assign it a brand new variable and you place that brand new variable within the for each if you want to be able to read it. And as you can see, we can see the actual contents of the LINQ statement that we just used. But let's just say that you don't want to use LINQ. If you don't want to use LINQ and you don't want to return a brand new array, what you can do is, first things first, we have to bring back our old collection because we want to be able to read. Let's just make sure that we're getting our sequential numbers back. And you can do this very simply, a non-immutable way, by just using a good old-fashioned remove. And remove is very simple because remove is just going to search for the actual value. It is not going to actually remove based on an index. You can just place whatever you're trying to remove within the actual method and watch what happens. So if, let's just say we want to remove the 1, we can do it that way. But let's just say you want to actually be able to remove based on the index, and I'll just go ahead and get rid of this one first. Let's just say that we want to remove the first element in the array based on an index. All that you would have to do is use a remove at. And I'm going to go down here, use remove at, and I want to remove the very first value based on an index. I'll go ahead, just place a 0 in there, and we remove the very first element. Whew, that was difficult for me. Anyways, hope that you guys enjoyed this. If you did, make sure to smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. As always, thank you for watching.